Welcome to the Word on Wednesday. This is your midweek online Bible study and devotion at Mackville Christian Church for Wednesday, May the 27th, 2026. We've been talking a lot about Old Testament personalities here on the Word on Wednesday, and there's so many great lessons that we can take from those people. Some of the lessons we can take are positive. Some of them are negative, but I believe that all of them speak directly to us today. There are lessons that speak to us loudly, regardless of who we are. They speak to me as the preacher. They speak to the elders and the deacons. They speak to the women of our church. They speak to young people. They speak to everyone. Why? Why do these Old Testament personalities speak to us even today? I believe it's because the people we read about in the Old Testament are people. They were people. They were people who, even though they lived in times much, much different from ours today, they are people that had similar hopes, similar fears, the same doubts that we have every day. But in the Old Testament, they were people who gave themselves to God. They might have balked. They might have argued. They might have said, God, I can't do this. But eventually they gave themselves to God, and He did great, great things through them. And I believe that speaks to us today. That should be our challenge. To give ourselves to God, let Him do great things in our lives. I want to read more about the life of Moses, who I've been talking about the last few weeks. I want to read about Moses in Exodus chapter 12, starting in verse 33. They've already gone through all the plagues of Egypt, the 10 plagues. I skipped that for the Word on Wednesday. I want to pick up after it's over with, the 10 plagues. Listen to what happens. Exodus chapter 12, starting in verse 33. The Egyptians were urgent with the people to send them out of their land in haste, for they said, we shall all be dead. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls being bound up and their cloaks on their shoulders. The people of Israel had also done as Moses told them, for they asked the Egyptians for silver and gold jewelry and for clothing. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have what they asked. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. And the people of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. A mixed multitude also went up with them, and very much livestock, both flocks and herds. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had brought out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not wait, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves. When I read this passage to prepare for this Word on Wednesday, something just hit me that I don't believe it ever stuck with me from this passage before. The people just acted with urgency. They got right on the job. They did what Moses instructed, and they did so quickly. Now, obviously, we read in verse 33 that the Egyptians wanted them gone. They wanted them out of Egypt. Those Egyptians had just endured the 10 plagues, the last of which was the death of the firstborn in every household. That got their attention. Look again at verse 33. The Egyptians were urgent with the people to send them out of their land in haste, for they said, we shall all be dead. So the Egyptians wanted the Israelites gone. They wanted nothing to do with them at this time. But the Israelites also acted quickly. they acted immediately when told to leave. And Moses gave them instructions as well. The reason we're told that their bread was unleavened was that at this time they left before the leaven was added. They carried their possessions over the shoulders and in their coats. And they left Egypt. That wasn't an easy task, folks. Verse 37, we're told that there were 600,000 men. Now let's just make an assumption here. It said 600,000 men beside women and children. And that's 600,000 men that are able to fight. But let's just assume here a few things. Let's assume that every one of those men had a wife and 2 kids. Now that's just an assumption here. That would say that there were about 2.4 million people leaving. Some scholars say that because of the higher birth rates and larger families of the people of Israel at the time, it was probably closer to 3 million people leaving Egypt at one time. I subscribe to that, but it's not something I think we can argue about because we'll never really know for sure. But let's put this in perspective. You have 3 million people leaving. That's like uprooting the entire city of Chicago, Illinois on short notice and having them move. This was not an easy task. Yet Moses was leading the people through this. There's 2 things I see in this. One is that we have to see urgency. Again, let me emphasize here, in this instance, the Egyptians wanted the Israelites gone. They wanted them to go. Now, we later learn that after they left, Pharaoh's heart was hardened again, and he chased the Jews to the Red Sea. There, God delivered them again and destroyed the Egyptians. We'll talk about that next week. But for us, we need to see the urgency of situations. Folks, people are lost without Jesus Christ. People are dying every day without Jesus Christ. We just can't say, well, everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's not. We got to reach people. And that's the challenge I give everyone. Answer that call of God. We live in an age in which people are rejecting the Lord. We have urgency before us. You know, in today's religious climate, it's popular to point to every world event and assign it as something the Bible foretells. Now, I don't get caught up in that. Now, I'm not going to say that there's not places that maybe the Bible is pointing to. But there's been times throughout history where people have assigned those to different things and say, God's coming soon. God's sending Jesus back soon. We can't fully understand with our limited intellect. We don't really know for sure. But one thing I do know for sure is that every night at midnight, the calendar changes. Every day, every 24 hours, another day passes. That fact alone means that we're getting closer to the day when Jesus returns. It means if you haven't accepted Christ, you have less time to do so today than you did yesterday. And don't squander that, folks. Don't squander that. It means that we have one less day to tell others. Don't squander that. It means that we have one less day to witness. Don't squander those opportunities. Act on a sense of urgency. But secondly, I think this passage teaches me to rely on God. Just rely on God. For the Jews, we're told they didn't have time to take provisions with them. They had to rely on God. I believe that is a huge message for us. Rely on Him. Rely on Him. When we can't see how we're going to get something done, Rely on God. Pray and let God work. Folks, I truly believe Mackville Christian Church has the potential to be a powerful force for God. Probably more than any of us can imagine. And even when I say that, as I was writing this out, I was thinking, even when I say that, it's tempting for me to excuse things, say, well, there's not a great population center nearby, or things like that. And I've heard some of you say that as well, or other things similar to that. But when we do that, what are we doing? We're limiting God. God is the all-powerful. Let's rely on him. Let's look at Exodus chapter 12, starting in verse 40. The time that the people of Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years. And at the end of 430 years, on that very day, all the host of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. It was a night of watching by the Lord to bring them out of the land of Egypt. So this same night is a night of watching kept to the Lord by all people of Israel throughout their generations. In other words, they realized God took care of them. They relied on him. God provided. He has done that over and over and over again through history. We see it over and over again through the Bible. We can tell times that in history where we have relied on God. We need to continually do that. And I believe that if we truly turn things over to him, if we truly rely on him, he'll do great things for us at Mackville. My question, are you willing? Folks, I love every one of you. And I can't wait to see you Sunday at Mackville Christian Church. We'll see you then. Take care and have a great week.